Hey, what's going on, Hot Ones fans? This is Sean Evans coming at you from quarantine. That's right, we are live and direct here from the living room for your Season 11 fan Q&A questions. We reached out to you guys on Twitter, we reached out to you guys on Facebook, we reached out to you guys on YouTube, and overwhelming, the big question that we got from fans, COVID-19. How does this global pandemic affect Hot Ones? The long and short of it is we don't really know. We're just like you guys, watching the news, keeping up to date on all the updates and reacting accordingly. So the plan in the short term is to kick things back a few weeks, a month, maybe longer, I'm not sure. And then in the meantime, find some fun ways to connect with you guys on a more regular basis. Keep the Hot Ones team working because that's all we know how to do. It doesn't slow down, it doesn't stop, and neither does the Season 11 fan Q&A. You guys had some great questions this year. Let's dive right into them. And first up, we have Guy Under the Pillow. How come you never brought up to JT that he's your doppelganger? Well, the first rule of doppelganger recognition is you can't tell your doppelganger, hey, you're my doppelganger. You have to wait for the other person to bring it up. So I'm not just gonna sit there and say to JT like, hey, JT, a lot of people on the internet say that we look alike, and I take it as a huge compliment. What do you think of that? You can't say that to JT, look at me. He's gonna think of that as an insult. You have to wait for him to bring it up. That said, First We Feasted a poll recently, and it had all the people that the internet says that I kind of look like. Overwhelming favorite, Neil Patrick Harris, and that is something that has been going on since long before I was on YouTube. All right, up next, from Sabona Argo, how many people are in your research team? All right, so here's how it works. Me, Chris Schoenberger, and my little brother Gavin, we divide up the research, take our notes, compile them. We have our dossier. We use that as the source. And then me and Chris write the run of show, write the interview questions. That's how it was in the beginning, and that's how it'll be till the end. All right, up next. All right, real quick, I'm going to interrupt the mailbag to do Controversy Corner because it's my favorite part of every Hot Ones Q&A. This year, though, I feel like we were pretty clean, but let's address a couple things. Lots of people reaching out. There's some episodes that are off YouTube. What happened to the Chrissy Teigen episode, for crying out loud? Even Chrissy Teigen wants to know. The way it works is after Hot Ones the game show, there's a Hot Ones episode. So we pulled the episodes off YouTube. Once that's all done, those episodes that were down, back on YouTube. That's how it goes. Not my decision. Don't be mad at me, but I also don't think it's the world's biggest deal. Finally, big controversy. Did you have COVID-19? We saw you in the update special. You had a cut on your chin. You fainted twice in the middle of the night. What the hell is going on? What are you keeping from us, Sean? Who knows? I couldn't get a test. When I reached out, I was like, to my physician, I'm like, I think things are wrong. I fainted twice last night. I've never fainted before in my life. Look at this damn cut on my chin. And they were like, yeah, rest. You don't have the severe breathing symptoms that we associate with somebody who needs a test. So I didn't get a test. But to answer your question, I don't know. Maybe I did. You know what? I was sick a couple weeks before. I don't know. You read all this new stuff. When was it in the country? When more people were infected? I can't keep up with the headlines. And thus concludes Controversy Corner. All right, back to the mailbag. From Bryceop, 29. What's your favorite kind of cheese? Mine, Manchego. From Blood Moon Priestess on IG. Where do you think the future of television is headed because of mediums like YouTube and TikTok? Is making it to TV still considered an accomplishment? Or has YouTube created an environment where it might actually be a step down? First off, I do think there's like a weird tribalism between TV and YouTube that I don't fully understand. The thing I think about is when we had Pete Holmes on Hot Ones, and he was talking about if you have an idea, maybe it's better as a drawing or cartoon. Maybe it's better as a novel. And that's the way these different platforms work. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Certain platforms have limitations, like the game show, for example. We could never do that on YouTube. To do a big game show, you have to do that on TV. If we try to do that on YouTube, it'd bankrupt the channel in the first week. Even look at like right now, there's a whole situation where like, it doesn't matter if you're Jimmy Fallon, host of The Tonight Show or whatever, you're doing this. Look at, I'm in my fucking living room right now. There's been a total reset button on entertainment where everybody's stripped of their productions and now they're just, everyone's a vlogger. Who knows? It just seems to be changing so much. It's a very complicated question. Maybe the next entire Q&A is about this, because I am a media landscape junkie. I'm obsessed with it. I love talking about it. All right, but we don't have time for me to keep rambling on. There's more questions to go. So moving on. Riddle Go Brah on IG asks, what's your go-to spot for good food in Atlanta? Atlanta's an awesome city. We spent a lot of time there shooting the game show. I was there for a couple weeks, did a lot of eating. I went to this spot Echo a couple times, which is excellent. But the most memorable dining experience that I had in Atlanta was at this place called Gun Show. And what they do there is you feel like you're a judge on Top Chef. They have like 10 chefs in the kitchen, and maybe they make up like 2 or 3 dishes a night, and then they come to your table and try to sell you the dish. If you're eating with a big group like we're eating, you try a little bit of everything. And then the fun thing about that is there's stuff that maybe you'd look at the menu and you'd be like, that's up my alley. I'm going to order that. And then when you actually try everything, you're like, oh, well, that was only okay, but that's the dish I would have ordered. And then you know what happens? The dishes that you maybe would have ignored are your favorites. And then you start to think, well, what do I even know about anything? And I learned that at the Gun Show. From That One Wookie, what 2 questions do you most dislike being asked? Well, I'm sort of desensitized to the whole, like, when are you going to have this guy on the show? When are you going to have Keanu Reeves on the show? When are you going to have Will Smith on the show? When are you going to have Obama on the show? That stuff, like, I'm just desensitized to it. So when people are like, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? When are you going to do this? I'm just like, you know. And then the other one that's like that is when people are like, well, how do you do it? How do you eat those meals? I don't know how you do it. Which is, I get it being asked. I understand it. But I have been asked that a million times. And now I'm just bored with it to the point that it's like exhausting to answer. Like, I don't know. I just do it. Like, I used to work in a cubicle. That was a whole lot more painful than this. Abe the Gremlin asked us on Twitter, what's your favorite song with the word hot in it? I'm going to have to go with Snoop Dogg and Pharrell, Drop It Like It's Hot, and then honorable mention Bobby Shmurda. Okay, moving on. Top comment on Instagram. Jesus Trejo, host of Tacos con Todo, asks, do you own socks? Hey, Jesus, what's it look like? I got socks, baby. I got socks. I got lots of socks. But you know what? Hey, listen, I'm just chilling in my apartment. If I don't want to wear socks, I won't wear socks. You guys are lucky I wore pants. I almost didn't wear pants to this. From Pooh Rogan, top 80s cartoons and why? I'm a 90s kid, so the 80s stuff, it's like a little bit before me. Like, what is that? Like Thundercats and G.I. Joe American Hero and like Inspector Gadget. I never watched any of that. That's all before my time. But I will give you my Mount Rushmore of cartoons. Number 1, South Park. I think that there were 4 seasons of The Simpsons that are untouchable. Beavis and Butthead also on there. In that last spot, a little bit of a cult show, and that's The Critic. Those are my 4 favorite animated shows of all time. Honorable mentions go to The Tick, Futurama. That was my brother's favorite show. And then a third, another little curveball, but it was the funniest show, Dr. Katz. Justin Valley asks, being a Crystal Lake native, what would be your top 3 hometown hotspots for food? We have Tommy's, Two Dog Special, Portillo's, and then here's a real deep dive from the 815. Do you guys remember that strip mall where there was a Leapin' Lizards, there was a Dollar Video, there was a Primetime Sports Collectibles, and then on the end, you know, kind of in that corner, shout out another Crystal Lake spot real quick, Nick's Pizza Pub. It's near there, kind of cradled in there, in that strip mall. That Chinese spot, it is long since gone out of business. But growing up, best egg foo young, best chicken fried rice. Another side rant. I used to play Little League behind there. The Major One fields, they were back there. And you remember how kids in Little League, like if they were playing on like Burger King, they'd say they get free Burger King or McDonald's. Or like there were kids that worked on Dollar Video that's like, oh yeah, like they're acting like they had perks, like they got free rentals and stuff. I've gotten older. And I realized that those were all lies. I was always so bummed out that like my team would be like a dentist's office or something. I was like, look at these kids we're playing. They all get free rentals from Dollar Video, but that was all a lie. What was that all about? Shout out Crystal Lake National Little League legends, Luke Trazer, Nick Chrisman, and Patish. All right, moving on. From Melpers17, Sean, do you pick your own outfits, or is there a Hot Ones stylist that assists you? All me, baby. Shopping is not my favorite thing in the world. I have a little bit of interest in it. I'm a little bit of a hobbyist, kind of like know what's going on, but not really asking people, call what's this, blah, 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 blah. I'm a little bit interested. Not so much that it consumes me or that I care all that much. But uniform shopper. I know what I like. But I'm a simple man. Shout out Throwing Fits. Shout out Chuck. Shout out Larry. All right, moving on. From Vamp. Ever thought of making a podcast? All right, here's my thing with podcasts. I agree that like now is like a golden era in podcasts. It's a gold rush, the radio. It's not what they used to be. So now you just have like where people used to crank the AM dial and get talk radio or whatever. Now it's just podcast. They look like such a pain in the ass. Every friend of mine that has a podcast, they're just constantly scrambling, trying to get guests. There's a whole circuit. You do my podcast, I'll do your podcast, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, where does it end? That's a lot of work. And I know how hard it is to lock in guests because it is a massive undertaking here on Hot Ones. I would not want to take this project, which already taxes us, and then add another get guest podcast, except now the show's got to be 2.5 hours long or something like that. That seems to me insane. I can't do it. If I were to make a podcast, this is what I would do, is doing a White Sox podcast with my brother, where we just talk about the White Sox, but it's also me and my brother kind of connecting on this thing that we used to love as kids. So maybe the Sean and Gavin White Sox podcast, if we ever get sports again. From Stanny Deweer. Since reaching an audience of millions, do you now feel pressure to pick the most known celebrities over perhaps the most interesting or niche characters on the internet? All right, well, it seems like we've gone from Whogate to the guests are too famous now, so I see what's going on here. But to answer your question, sure, we could have a blueprint before the season and be like, oh, we want like this mix of actors and actresses, a few musicians, maybe an athlete who just won a championship, a white whale guest that the audience has been clamoring for since the beginning. And then if things get too clean around here, we need a comedian to drop bombs, come in with some edge, and do one of those anarchy episodes that we love to make. That's great. You can have that blueprint, but that's not how it works at all. But we've been fortunate enough now to be in a position where we have a lot of incoming too. So that's how it works. You have outgoing stuff, the trail gets warm, it gets hot, bam, lock in a date, put it on the schedule. Incoming, oh my gosh, this person just hit us up. They're gonna be here, there, whatever. They wanna do Hot Ones. All right, put it on the schedule. And then you start putting it all on the schedule. And then once that ship gets going, the production ship, it's like a cruise ship. It's hard to turn, but the Hot Ones ship, it has to be able to turn on a dime and just be this big beast thing that moves. But we have very little wiggle room. So yeah, you can have that blueprint, but you cannot build it out like that. It'll never work out for you that way. You just have to be opportunistic, make the best of whatever's handed to you. And philosophically, here's the thing that we drive into everybody who works on the show. It does not matter who's in the seat. You just have to do the best possible interview and not sulk and be like, oh, I wish it was Will Smith or whatever. You cannot think that way. You cannot go about things that way. The thing is, whoever's in the seat, no matter who it is, best interview possible. And I think that's why the show's lasted as long as it's lasted. Well, there you have it. Another Hot Ones fan Q&A is in the books. If you sent us a question, thank you very much. If you've watched us this season, or if you've watched us in any season, if we've gotten a minute of your time, I just want to say thank you. Season 1, all the way to season 11. Who would have thought? Not me. We covered a lot, but again, stick with us because we're going to stay connected to you. We'll do a new thing. Sean tells a story. I'll get on here. I'll tell you. I'll take you down a walk down memory lane. I'll talk about the Shark Tank. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But if you want to stay connected, I'm going to try to stay connected with you. Again, when it comes to Hot Ones updates, you guys will be the first to know. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, stay home, and we'll see you very soon. It doesn't have the same ring. Yeah. It doesn't have the same ring when you're just doing it yourself.
Everyone has to unmute.
Yeah.
To get that off.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
What is up, Spice Lords? This is Camera Guy Bill here. Welcome to Bill's Wing Tutorial. There's one thing this Buffalo boy knows how to do, it's eat a wing. First, you're gonna wet your wing with some sauce here. You pour a little drizzle there. Oh, ba 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 ba. And then, what I like to do, I pull it apart, and then you get 2 wings for the price of 1. You just move it up. For more tutorials on how to eat chicken wings, smash that subscribe and like button. This is Camera Guy Bill here saying it's good to be Camera Guy Bill.